Welcome to Cost Saver Conversations. I'm Angela, and I ask the practical questions so you can quickly understand what matters. Today, I'm joined by Assad.
Hi, Angela. We are unpacking Director Liability Exposed, the 5 dangerous myths costing UK directors their careers and savings today, and tying it back to the wider cost saver ecosystem, including tools like Director Company Network Checker so you can turn insights into action quickly.
Just a heads up before we dive in, we are your synthetic hosts. We are great with numbers, but as AI, we can sometimes be confidently wrong. Think of us as the digital versions of your most knowledgeable, slightly caffeinated friends.
Exactly. Treat this chat as a smart estimate only, not as professional financial guidance. Always check important details with official sources or a qualified expert before making any big decisions.
All right, so we're back, and today we're getting into something that, honestly, it's kind of terrifying if you're a UK director. Assad's here with me, thank God, because this whole director liability thing is, it's a lot. Hi, Assad.
Hey, Angela. Yeah, it's one of those topics where people think they know the rules, right? And then they find out they're completely wrong when it's too late.
Too late, meaning?
Meaning they're personally on the hook for, I don't know, 85,000 pounds, 200,000 pounds? I mean, we're talking about real money here. Your house, your savings, all of it.
Jesus. Okay, so the blog we're looking at talks about these dangerous myths, which sounds a bit dramatic, but I'm guessing it's not?
No, not at all. I mean, in 2022 alone, we had 1,196 directors formally disqualified in the UK. That's careers ending, Angela. And a lot of those cases, they involve these group structures, networks of companies where directors thought they were protected, but
They weren't.
exactly, they weren't. And the biggest myth, the one that gets everyone, it's this idea that I'm only liable for what happens in my own company. Like, if I'm running Company A, Company B's problems aren't mine, right?
That seems logical, though.
It does. It absolutely does. But the law it just doesn't work that way. Under Section 214 of the Insolvency Act, if you knew or even should have known that a company was heading for trouble.
Wait, should have known? That's pretty vague.
Right? But that's the standard. And here's the kicker. This applies to every single company you're a director of. You can't say, oh, I was too busy with my other companies. There's actually this case, Reed Gann of London from 1994.
1994? That's ancient.
I know, but it's still the law. This director tried to argue he had too many other directorships to pay attention, and the court basically said, tough luck, mate. The standard of care is objective. You either meet it or you don't.
So, having 5 directorships doesn't mean your responsibilities are diluted across them.
No, you have the full set of duties in all 5, which is, look, it's impossible, really.
Okay, so give me a real example. Like, how does this actually play out?
All right, so there's this director, Sarah, from Birmingham. She's got a holding company and 2 trading subsidiaries, yeah? One subsidiary goes under, 340,000 in debt.
Ouch.
Yeah, and she thinks, well, I kept everything separate, different companies, different roles. But here's the thing, she had access to consolidated financial reports. She could see this subsidiary was in trouble for 8 months before it collapsed.
8 months?
8 months. And she did nothing. So the liquidator comes after her personally. 85,000 pounds she had to pay, plus a 6-year disqualification.
6 years where she can't be a director of anything?
Nothing, not even a small consultancy. And that's public record, by the way. Anyone can look that up. Potential employers, business partners, mortgage lenders.
That's devastating. Okay, so myth 1 is thoroughly busted. What about the blog mentions parent companies and subsidiaries? Isn't there supposed to be this corporate veil that protects you?
Ah, yeah, the corporate veil. So this goes back to Solomon v. Solomon, 1897.
Even older.
I know, right? But it established that each company is its own legal entity. The parent isn't the subsidiary isn't the parent. And that's real. That protection exists. But
There's always a but.
there's always a but.
Courts can pierce the corporate veil. They can look through it and say, no, you're using this structure to avoid your obligations. There was this Supreme Court case in 2013, Prest v. Petrodel,
Which
said if you're deliberately using a company to evade an existing legal obligation, we're coming after you personally. Fraud, improper conduct, deliberate misuse, all of that can strip away the protection.
So it's not an absolute shield.
Not at all. And there are other ways parent companies can get caught out. Express guarantees, obviously, but also if the parent takes over management of the subsidiary or assumes a duty of care to the subsidiary's employees. It gets messy fast.
Right. The blog mentions getting legal advice on structuring. How much are we talking?
Honestly, an hour with a decent corporate solicitor, you're looking at 200 to 400 pounds, which sounds like a lot, but when the alternative is tens of thousands in liability, I mean, it's nothing.
It's like insurance, sort of.
Better than insurance, actually, because insurance, and this is another myth, D&O insurance doesn't cover everything. Fraud, deliberate wrongdoing, criminal stuff, not covered. Disqualification proceedings, often not covered.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Most people don't. They think D&O is this magic bullet, but it's really not.
Okay, so what about non-executive directors? Surely they're less exposed because they're not in there day to day.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no, a non-exec owes exactly the same duties under the Companies Act as an exec. Exactly the same.
Even though they might only be in once a month for a board meeting?
Even then, the nature of the role is different, the time commitment is different, but the legal obligations, identical. And then you've got shadow director.
Shadow directors?
Yeah. So these are people who aren't officially appointed, but whose instructions the board follows. You know, the person pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Like a puppet master?
Exactly. And the law treats them as full directors, full liability, including for wrongful trading. You could be a director without even knowing it, legally speaking.
That's actually terrifying. So you could think you're just giving advice, but if they're always following it...
You're a shadow director, yeah.
Bloody hell. Okay, so the blog mentions this idea that you can rely on other directors to handle compliance. I'm guessing that's also wrong?
So wrong. I mean, look, delegation is fine. It's necessary. You can't do everything yourself. But delegation is an abdication. You've still got to satisfy yourself that the person you're delegating to is competent, that they're actually doing the job.
How do you even do that, though?
Well, the blog has this list, actually. Regular financial reports from all your companies, attending board meetings, or at least reading the minutes properly, asking questions when things look off.
Basic oversight stuff.
Right. But you'd be amazed how many directors don't do it. They assume everything's fine until it's not. And documenting your decisions, crucial, especially when things get rocky.
Why especially then?
Because that's when the liquidators come looking. And if you can show, look, I asked these questions, I got these reports, I made this decision based on this information, that's your defense right there.
So it's about showing you tried, even if things went wrong anyway?
Exactly. The blog reckons proper oversight takes maybe 2 to 4 hours per month per company. Compare that to defending a wrongful trading claim, you're talking hundreds of hours, tens of thousands in legal fees.
Right. It's a no-brainer when you put it like that.
But people don't think about it until it's too late, which brings us to the last myth, that company networks are only a problem when things go wrong.
Let me guess, they're always a problem?
No, not always a problem, but they're always a risk. And you need to understand that risk before something happens, not during a crisis. It's like you wouldn't wait until your house is on fire to check if you have insurance, would you?
God, no.
Same principle. The blog talks about treating your company network as a living system. What made sense 3 years ago might be a disaster waiting to happen now because the business changed or the law changed or the economy changed.
So you need to review it regularly.
Annually at least. Schedule it alongside your year end. And there's this Director Company Network Checker tool the blog mentions. Takes about 5 minutes, maps out your connections, flags potential issues.
Does using something like that, I don't know, does it flag you for scrutiny or anything?
No, God, no. It's the opposite, actually. It shows you're being diligent. What attracts scrutiny is when there's a problem and you clearly had no idea about your own structure. That looks terrible.
Makes sense. So, let's kind of wrap this up. What are the absolute must-knows for any UK director listening?
All right, so first, every directorship you hold has its own full set of duties. You can't half-ass any of them. Second, the Insolvency Act can make you personally liable in any company you direct, not just the one that goes under.
Personal liability, meaning your own money?
Your own money, your house, your savings. Third, that corporate veil between parent and subsidiary, it can be pierced. It's not bulletproof. Fourth, shadow directors and non-execs have the same duties as everyone else.
No getting off lightly.
None. Fifth, delegation doesn't remove your oversight responsibility. You're still on the hook. And disqualification can last up to 15 years, applies to all companies, goes on public record.
15 years, Christ.
I know. And look, document everything. Every decision, every review, every question you ask. That documentation could save you later.
The blog mentions some pretty scary numbers. Personal liability averaging 50,000 to 200,000?
Yeah, and it can go into the millions for bigger companies. There was one case in 2021, director ordered to pay $1.2 million personally because he let a subsidiary keep trading when he knew it was insolvent.
1.2 million pounds? How do you even...
You don't. You lose everything. Which is why spending a few £100 now on proper legal advice is just essential. It's not optional.
So the message is basically, don't assume you're protected. Actually, check.
That's it. The directors who get destroyed by this stuff, they're almost always the ones who assume they were fine without actually checking. Take 10 minutes, use that checker tool, talk to a solicitor. Your future self will thank you.
And your family, probably.
Oh, definitely your family. This stuff doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you.
Right. Well, on that cheerful note. No, but seriously, Assad, this has been incredibly eye-opening. I think a lot of directors listening are probably having a mild panic attack right now.
Good. I mean, not good, but a little panic now is better than total devastation later, you know?
Fair point. Thanks so much for breaking all this down. It's complex stuff, but you've made it really clear.
Anytime, Angela. And seriously, to anyone listening, don't wait. Check your position now while you can still do something about it.
Absolutely. Right. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, maybe go check your company structure after this. Quick side note, this guide connects with other cost-saver blogs, especially free ways to slash your energy bills this winter and home insulation ROI.
Exactly. And reading those together gives you a fuller picture of safety, energy costs, and long-term affordability before you choose a postcode.
And if you want to apply this immediately, jump into tools like Director Company Network Checker right after this episode.
Primary sources used here include UK Insolvency Act 1986, Section 214, Wrongful Trading, and UK Insolvency Service Director Disqualification Statistics 2022, so you can verify the data yourself and stay evidence-led.
That wraps this cost-saver conversation with Angela and Assad. If this helped, share it with someone house hunting so they make safer and smarter money decisions.
Your next step is simple. Try Director Company Network Checker, then read free ways to slash your energy bills this winter and use both together before committing to a move.